I'm Lance Phillips. Today is National Mojito Day. What is not to like about that, JR?
Very little. I love a good mojito, though I would have been more excited if it was National Bellini Day.
National Bellini Day.
I'm a big Bellini fan. It's just
Jeez, really? You're all slush. You're all slush, eh?
Straight shot of sugar.
Have about 10 of those and you can't feel your head the next day.
Well, it can't feel anything else the next day either. You're in a comatose state from sugar overdose.
Lance Phillips and Josh Ryan joining you for the Gloves Are Off. Chris King away this week, so when Chris King is away, Josh Ryan fills in, but it doesn't mean that you aren't doing video production today.
That's true. We do have a wonderful surprise for you.
Oh man, it's a beauty, right?
And we were giggling when we first talked about the discovery.
We were searching the depths of the internet and found an unbelievable sport. Can you call it a sport? There's athletics involved.
It was labeled a sport. I mean, if we can call hot dog eating a sport, I think it's fair to say what we're going to debut later can be considered
That's
a
coming
sport.
up later in the show. Josh, let's get started. We got lots on the docket
Absolutely.
today. Let's start with, for the second straight week, we're talking basket brawls. That's a term I coined the week before. I kind of like it, actually, Josh.
Pretty good term.
It is. This time coming from the AAU, which is the Amateur Athletic Union. Sunday, a massive brawl erupted between Chicago's Raw Athletics, but not the other team, the officials. It all started when a technical foul was assessed to a Chicago player, resulting in chirping and a violent brawl between the team and the officials. The accounts of the events vary, of course, depending on different people that were present. What doesn't vary is the magnitude of how absolutely disgraceful this was. Josh, what should be the next step for this league and for the officials?
Well, the first step is the actual investigation. Police are investigating the incident to possibly consider criminal charges.
There should be criminal charges.
So there's a lot going on that front that we don't know yet. They have to get testimony from different witnesses, certainly the parents that were involved there. Plenty of people had the camera phones
I feel
ready.
like all the police need to do is look at the video, and you could charge not only players on that team, you can charge officials as well.
Yes, you could also charge maybe tournament staff for negligence. You can certainly charge the coaching staff.
It's a mess.
The main issue is that the one video that everyone's been looking at, the one you and I looked at, the one that you folks I'm sure will get that look at, is that you don't see the official start.
The initial
Even the longer version of the video, which shows the lead up to it, the camera is pointed away when the initial contact between a player from Raw and the official take place. And that's the big issue. I think once they determine more, there should be criminal charges pressed either to the players or the officials.
Immediate license, if you can even call it a license, revoke of the officials.
Yes.
I don't care who started it. I don't care what happened. You cannot have officials engaging in that. So immediately, those officials, their certificates, whatever it is, should be revoked. They should not be able to officiate ever again.
And
I'm saying ever again. And these kids, I'm under the understanding, play for different high schools around Chicago. This isn't one specific school.
Yeah.
I'm finding out who those athletes are, and those kids are not playing basketball in my high school again. Not only not playing in my high school, I'm letting every high school know in Chicago who these kids are, so that if these kids attempt to transfer, they're not playing anywhere. Their basketball careers are over, basically.
Which leads also to, obviously, a suspension of their AAU playing capabilities. And again, the coaching staff has a large role to play in this. The coach of the Raw Athletics was quoted as saying the referees should have let us handle it. So by handling it, that means multiple players teaming up on official.
I've never seen anything so messy in my life. That was absolutely horrific to watch. And just go away. If something starts, just walk away,
Which the other team wisely did.
No kidding.
Crazy to think this comes just weeks after Thon Maker was throwing knees into Filipino players. So again, multiple failures on that front. Multiple failures throughout this season for the Toronto Blue Jays, unfortunately. Canada's baseball team once again looks down the barrel of a lost season heading into the All-Star break. The question is what to do from here. Do they trade away players to get prospects? How do they even get their fans engaged? And that's the question I want to pose to you, Lance. Like, what is the step here to make the rest of the season meaningful?
I mean, you can do kind of little things around the stadium to try and get fans engaged. You can hold more free days, which really is the only way Jays are bringing out fans for attendance right now. Here, there's one thing though. If you want to bring out fans, there's one thing you can do. And you have to do it if by the end of July this team is not at least at 500, you have to bring Vlad Guerrero Jr. aboard. You have to bring him aboard. If you're not at 500, and even at 500, I'm not sure they're a postseason team. If they're not at 500, it's time to bring him on. That's how you're going to get fans in. They've seen it in New Hampshire when he's been playing AA. It's time to bring him up.
And
that is going to get fans engaged.
And he has made the move up to Buffalo now, correct, into AAA, or he's on his way up to AAA?
He's on his way up, I believe.
So that's already a closer step to what you want. The baseball royalty aspect of it, too, in terms of who his father is. The glimpse they had of him playing in Montreal at the beginning of the season should tell you enough how excited people were by this player. The one thing I'd add to that is devote as much time as you can into getting Troy Tulowitzki and Josh Donaldson healthy, because not only if they are on the field, that's a better product for fans to enjoy, that gives you more opportunity to either possibly get trade value for them by seeing that they can play, or build towards next year.
Sure. I'm not sure, though, that Troy Tulowitzki right now is going to be an upgrade over what they currently have in the infield. I don't know that it is. And Josh Donaldson, I believe, is if he's healthy. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. But you mentioned it off the top. It's time to start trading guys. Unfortunately for the Jays. Alex Anthopoulos absolutely raided the Jays prospects when he brought in David Price, when he brought up Tulowitzki. So it's time to start replenishing that. It's time to deal guys like Jay Happ. It's time to deal guys like Josh Donaldson. I'm not sure how high his trade value is at this point. And it's time to start replenishing. But if you want immediate impact, it's got to be Vlad Guerrero Jr. He has to be here.
And with Donaldson specifically, you need to see some games out of him to know he can still play at a high level. When he's injured, you're not going to get that opportunity.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders are having a season that in some ways they'd like to forget, but in some ways they'd like to remember. The forgetful part comes from Zach Caleros just into Game 2 of the season. On a 40-17 loss to the Red Black, Caleros was out with an injury, a concussion, and that meant Brandon Bridge has taken the reins. Since Brandon Bridge has taken the reins, the team has not fared well. Josh, can the Riders make some noise going forward with Zach Caleros out for the next 5 games?
Well, they're not going to do that if Brandon Bridge continues to throw one of the worst completion percentages in the entire league. That's a fact.
Right.
They're going to need a much better performance out of Brandon Bridge. They're also going to need more out of their offensive line. I was looking this up today. They're actually 3rd worst in the league in sacks allowed, which kind of connects to the fact that they lead the league in turnovers. The only team in the league with double-digit turnovers in the CFL. Those two particular stats need to change. Their defense has been relatively good. Their offense has not been good. And
their offense is anemic.
It needs 2 very important factors, that line and that quarterback performing better.
And I said 5 games, apologize, it's actually 4 until Caleros returns. He's eligible to return August 25th at BC. Here's the schedule for the next 4 games. They're at Hamilton to play the Tiger Cats. To me, this is the only winnable game for them over the next 4. Then they play the Stampeders at home. Then they're in Edmonton to play the Eskimos. Then back home for the Stampeders again. With the way Brandon Bridge is performing, they have no real chance. I mean, I guess they have a chance, but it's a slim one to beat those teams. And even the Hamilton Tiger Cats are tough because Jeremiah Masoli is playing like a man possessed right now.
Kept Manziel off the board.
Here is Brandon Bridge's stats. For players that have played at least 3 games, Brandon Bridge is 32 for 53 for 357 yards. That's in 3 games. Jeremiah Masoli nearly did that in his last game. He's second last amongst QBs who have played 3 or more games in yards. He's got 60.4 pass completion percentage, which you mentioned. He's got the 4th highest interceptions with 3, and he's last amongst QBs with 3 or more games with a 56.9% efficiency rating. It's not going to get it done.
It's pretty terrible. Perhaps with his big 6'5" frame, he should try running the ball instead of throwing it.
That's what makes him so lethal, is that he can do that, but he cannot get it done right now. They narrowly beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats the other night. They narrowly beat them, and it wasn't until the very last quarter that a touchdown was actually thrown. So the chances of carrying on like this are slim.
They are slim. Somebody who wasn't slim at the end of his competition, Joey Chestnut. He shouldn't be slim when you consider he ate 74 hot dogs, a new world record, to win that competition. Are you impressed by this particular feat? I have a hot take, but you go ahead.
I am impressed by this.
Okay.
I'm impressed that this guy could drill 74 dogs and their accompanying buns into his boiler. It's unbelievable to me in 10 minutes. I mean, as someone who eats food fairly rapidly as I do, I eat quickly, that's an unbelievable level of quick. It's impressive. In a very disgusting way, it's impressive. But yes, I am totally impressed by it.
I think that while your point is valid, we should stop being impressed by gluttony. It's not a sport. Let's get this straight.
There is some athletic ability involved. They were sweating doing it.
If it's athletic ability, then my grandmother's cake tea party is an athletic event.
What's kind of impressive?
The pizza party we just had at work, that is an athletic event. There's
kind of
walking involved.
What's kind of impressive about this is that he pulverized his own record from the year before. 72 of those things he ate the year before.
Which begs another question. Why? You already own the world record. What is there to prove?
We need more of this stuff.
Maybe
we need more of this stuff.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but like drink or something. That's better for you than what you're doing with
I don't know if it is. That's I don't know. I think initially 74 hot dogs is not good for you.
I'm not actually advocating overuse of alcohol, by the way. I'm just saying this is crazy.
I think that 74 hot dogs is worse for you initially than drinking long term. Okay, long term destroys your liver. What is eating 74 hot? It destroys your stomach for sure, and maybe your anus. That's entirely possible.
The fact that they puke
Speaking
all
of which,
of it out.
how does that work? How does it come out?
They puke it out. They have a designated throw-up spot.
Can you imagine it coming the other way?
That's not good for your
What a
body either,
mess.
to routinely throw up, because they train to do
That's
that.
what I call. That's what I call
a
what do they call those things in the ocean? Iceberg. That's what I call an iceberg in the toilet. When you, an iceberg. It's the only way to describe it. It's the only way it would come out. I can't describe it any other way.
Let's not describe this ever again.
Major League Baseball All-Star rosters were announced Sunday for the American National Leagues. Mind you, there was one notable omission on the American League, and that is Blake Snell, starting pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays. Who is Blake Snell? Let me tell you. Leads the American League with a 2.09 ERA. That's second league-wide, just to Jacob deGrom. He's tied for second with the most wins. He's tied for third with quality starts of 14. His teammate Chris Archer went to social media to explain how frustrated he was that Snell was not picked to the All-Star game. Is Archer right? I was just going to call you Kinger. Is Archer right, Josh? Should Snell have been picked? Did he get snubbed? Was Snell snubbed?
I think when you look at the stats, it's hard to argue that he wasn't snubbed. His replacement, the guy that made it instead of him, Trevor Bauer, 8 wins compared to 12, 6 losses compared to 4, 2.45 ERA. That's a little off 2.09. He also has a worse whip, does have more strikeouts. That's the one stat in which you can give him
pitched a few more innings as well.
Those
two are pretty close. I got to say that Snell got snubbed here.
I think he
got snubbed. I mean, amongst first-year selections that are starting pitchers, Jose Barrios, Jay Happ, and Trevor Bauer are the three that got in as starting pitchers that are first-year selections.
Right.
And Trevor Bauer, of those three, is the one that is neck and neck with Snell. The other two, in my opinion, are not even close. So, yes, Snell should have been in there. Archer has every right to complain about this. This is the fascinating thing, is that I lost it. Detroit pitcher, Detroit Lions, Detroit Tigers pitcher, Justin Verlander. I forgot his name. Justin Verlander went to Twitter as well to say that these players have to make these picks early. So they make these picks very early, and they make it and send it in via envelope. Like snail mail. Like, what is this? We're in 2018.
This is 2018, and we're
Archer
still
made
killing
the point,
trees.
You could do this Verlander made the point, you can do this via iPad days before. So Snell's record and Snell's stats since that point have changed drastically since they snail mailed this stuff in.
Absolutely. One thing to do keep in mind, there is a chance of him playing in the All-Star game.
Yeah, but it's slim.
And that has been misreported in some areas, snubbed of All-Star berth. Ultimately, he can still play in the game if voted in by players. However, should he have been the starting pitcher for the All-Star game, I think it's a pretty safe thing to say, yes, he should have been the starting pitcher. It's safe to say that Johnny Manziel should not have been the starting quarterback for the Ticats, considering his replacement has been much, much better and kept him off the field. The question is, considering all the hoopla we've had around Johnny football going into this season, is he actually going to see the field, which he hasn't had a sniff at so far? And you're shaking your head pretty vigorously, so.
No, he's not going to. The only reason he sees the field is if Jeremiah Masoli is injured. That's a possibility. Or Jeremiah Masoli absolutely turns into death and does nothing for the rest of the season. And Jeremiah Masoli is on a 9-game, 300-plus yards passing streak, which is tied for the all-time lead in the CFL. And he may break it in their next match.
That's a pretty impressive
against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So, no, Johnny Manziel should not see the field. And nor will Johnny Manziel see the field unless those two things happen or a trade occurs. And as it stands right now, I don't see it happening. Jeremiah Masoli's playing way too good, and Manziel cannot go in and replicate that.
And you look at quarterbacks who have completed more than 50 passes, he's second only to Mike Riley in pass completion, Jeremiah Sully. So he's efficient. He's not just solid, he's also very efficient
and I
as
would
well.
blame some of that even on their receiving core.
Right.
I think some of those are drop passes. Some of that is just poor execution by the receivers. Masoli has been otherworldly. He's essentially made himself an elite quarterback. And Johnny Manziel, and the other thing is, the Hamilton Tiger Cats aren't trading Johnny Manziel. You're not going to all that work to bring this guy in, to trade him. And why on earth would you play him if Masoli is playing as good as he is? Why?
I do think, though, that not necessarily because Masoli will not perform. I think Manziel will see the field at some point because, one...
Yeah, he has to walk across it to get to the bench.
True. Two, the season's a grind. And there's also chance of injury.
And that's what I said. Unless that happens, that's the only way.
And three, if they're in a blowout situation against another team, perhaps they give him an opportunity to throw a pass or two.
And that's the thing. I do not see the Hamilton Tiger Cats in a blowout situation at any point this season. They've played very well. I've been actually impressed with how good that team has been.
Not even if the Riders continue to struggle?
No, the Riders aren't taking it. They're going to get close.
Not even against Montreal.
Shock, no shock, coming up on the other side.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
All right, welcome back, Josh. Let's get some shock, no shock going.
Been a
We
while
got
for
a few
this.
lined up here. Would you like me to start, or would you like to start it off?
I'm curious what you have got
Okay.
going. So.
This one is a little surprising, and I'm not sure how much weight it has.
Ready for the surprise.
You shocked or not shocked that the Raptors are being mentioned as a possible destination for Kawhi Leonard?
At first, I was totally shocked, but I'm less shocked the more I've read into it because, one, this could be just teams leaking from sources to try to get more leverage in the trade.
It could be nothing.
There's been a lot of
nothing.
leaking that Kawhi only go to the Lakers. Now he will go to the Clippers because he's going to play with LeBron. There's a good chance that both his people and the Spurs people are leaking different things to generate interest. That's one. Two is that Masai Ujiri is a very aggressive GM, and it would be
He
a
should
Masai
be an
Ujiri.
unemployed GM.
I totally disagree with you, but we can have that conversation another time. The way he's turned that franchise around has been by taking risks, and he's a type of GM that would take a risk on this type of player.
I am shocked by this.
Okay.
I am shocked by this. I didn't expect it to be to hear this about Raptors. Now, like I said, it could be nothing at all, and it very well may be nothing at all.
Maybe nothing.
But what I'm interested in is, are you trading whoever's on that roster to get him? So if it's a matter of trading DeRozan, are you trading DeRozan to get a guy like him?
100%.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got to do what you can do to make this team better, and that includes dealing one or both of those guys if the deal's there.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I got a couple, but we're going to stick with basketball for this. Are you shocked or not shocked that LeBron James is signing for a lower salary or less significant salary than Chris Paul? Same term, less money to LeBron James.
Yeah, I was initially.
Yeah.
I was initially because my whole line of thinking with LeBron is he wants to win championships. He's got 3 to go before he catches MJ, and I expected that was his goal. But the more I've thought about it, the more I've sat and I've pondered the LBJ situation. I've thought, no, I'm not surprised by this. This guy, he's signing for less, but he's going to make more by the time he is dead and gone. He will have made far more than Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Kinger and I talked about this. He's got a production company. Maybe the shoe deal maybe potentially changes in LA. Everything changes for him outside of basketball.
And he's
outside of being on the court.
He's unofficially got his talent agency as well with Clutch Sports.
Yes.
It's run by his friend Rich Paul,
Right.
but unofficially.
Still.
It's
So the matter of signing, the money he's going to make isn't in basketball. He's going to make more money outside of basketball.
And one thing that people have forgotten, I had totally forgotten about, Chris Paul's the head of the Players Union. So if he takes less money than what he's worth, it's actually a bad look for the players he's representing because he's trying to create a culture where players get the max amount of money they can make. And if he takes less money, it's not a good look
That's
as
a
the
very
head
good
of the
point.
Players Association.
Okay, I feel like I know what the answer to this one is going to be.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you shocked or you're not shocked that the Toronto FC are in 10th place in the Eastern Conference? That's tied for 20th overall. There's 23 teams overall in the MLS. There's 11 in the East.
How can you?
Toronto FC is 4-4-10 for 16 points. Are you shocked?
I don't know how you can't be
Oh,
shocked.
you have to be
because not only did they have an amazing season last year, they had the amazing season last year. I mean, they were not only the best team in the MLS, they set records, they took the country by storm, really sparked interest in soccer in Canada, gave the city of Toronto, I mean, I know the Argonauts have won, but they
went far
gave,
in the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Yes, that too.
Went far in that situation.
And they have plenty of those star players back on this team
like
still.
all of them.
They have had a couple of injuries here and there during the year, and that could hamper.
But not enough to warrant this situation.
No, certainly not. Not what you typically see, where a team is at the very top of the standings and tumbles to nearly the bottom. That is
shocking.
pretty unprecedented.
This is absolutely shocking, and I'm not sure that anybody saw this one coming. This team will likely not make MLS playoffs
Outside of the
after winning the championship.
outside of the NFL, you rarely see a professional sports team go from such a high to such a low. I think the New Jersey Devils are one of the only ones that missed the playoffs after winning the Stanley Cup. You never see this in sports, a team going from that high to this low.
No
And
kidding.
there are some games left, obviously, to work their way back, but
They got a long way to go.
a really long way
That team
to
has
go,
a long way to
unfortunately.
go.
Indeed.
And what I'm really curious about is to see how this affects the fan base.
Yes.
Over maybe this year and maybe into next year. Are we going to see it drop? Are we not? It's a huge soccer culture in Toronto.
If they start out on a bad note for next season, I do think you're going to see
be a
fan
problem.
attendance drop.
Could be a problem.
Do you want to stay in Toronto for
Okay,
this next
go
one?
ahead.
We're going to go to hockey. This is a would you be shocked, not
Would you
are
be
you or
shocked?
were you. Would you be shocked or not shocked if the Leafs still have John Tavares, Nazem Kadri, and Austin Matthews all on the roster come playoff time? Not by the start of the season, but by come playoff time, they go into the playoffs with those three guys.
Not at all.
Interesting.
Not at all. I believe that, look, Austin Matthews was one of the driving forces to get John Tavares to sign in Toronto. He sent him messages. He really kind of helped persuade him to come here, which means I don't think Austin Matthews is going to leave Toronto. I expect there to be a contract extension for him. I expect to see some extensions for Nylander as well. And as it pertains to Kadri, no. I think Kadri is right now a huge value as your third line center. He's huge value for that team. No, I'd be shocked if they weren't all there.
See, and the reason I would say I would be a little shocked is because they still need some help on the blue line to shore
they
up that
definitely need
six-man
help on
unit.
the blue line.
And Kadri might, other than if they want to part with Nylander, Kadri might be their best piece to do it because his contract isn't that bad, but he's not quite as valuable to the team purely as Tavares or Matthews are. And he could be the prime chip in a trade that could bring in a defenseman that can immediately help your top
Which
six.
is an interesting thing. So to me, I almost believe that Nylander might be a better selection for that. If you're thinking of trading somebody and you're thinking of moving a guy to get people in return, I think Nylander might actually bring you the most return. And I'm not sure how much of a loss that is compared to losing Kadri.
The problem is that the management seems to really love Nylander, and
I
there's
believe
still
that.
mixed feelings on Kadri, which is whether or not you want to keep him long term.
We got some bold predictions coming up on the other side. I think they're pretty bold. Josh
Look,
has got a
his
couple
is
of bold
really
ones.
bold.
That's right, I do have a bold
A couple of
one
them,
for sure.
My goodness. This will be a conversation.
If you can't score, you might as well drop the gloves.
All right, as we mentioned before we went to break, there are some bold things in here.
Yeah. I'm still kind of just waiting for him to say this on there. There's some really bold things coming out.
I'm going to start with a semi-bold.
Okay, yeah, that's actually probably good to warm up
Mike
to the
Trout,
really bold.
as of Tuesday, Mike Trout is third in the MLB home run race. I believe he has 25 home runs. By the end of the season, Mike Trout will win the MLB home run race. And this is kind of interesting, Josh, pardon me. I'm so used to saying Kinger. This is kind of interesting because I originally said that I thought Charlie Blackmon actually could be a guy who could hit 50 home runs. He's at 17. He's really dropped off.
Yeah.
But now, as the season's gone on, I think Mike Trout might be the home run champion.
I think that's a good bet, not only because where he's at right now. I mean, he sits second, obviously, in the home run race. He's always
Second,
a very
pardon me, I thought he was
he's tied for second with Aaron Judge. He's a very steady player for one, but he's also been able to stay relatively healthy.
Yes.
And with the team performing well, that also bodes a little bit better. When you have other hitters doing better in your lineup, that takes a little bit of pressure off you.
It
I
does.
feel.
I agree with that.
So I don't think it's totally bold. I actually think that people who know, I don't even know baseball that much. I think people who know baseball, really diehard fans like Kinger and yourself, would agree with that take, that he has a good shot of winning it.
All right, hit me up. Hit me up, baby.
All right, I will try. You know what? I will. You said this is bold. I don't think this is that bold. I believe that the Lakeland Rustlers will have 3 teams playing in the ACAC championship game. At least 3
bold.
teams.
And not only in the ACAC championships.
The final game.
The finals.
I do not believe this is as bold as you think. For one, I'm not even focusing on futsal where there's a chance.
I'm not sure where you're getting the 3rd team from. This is why. So hammer this out.
First of all, women's basketball is going to be very good again, and having Tori Dugan back at point guard is going to make a world of difference.
That team's going to be better.
That team would have won a conference championship if she was playing this year. They would have won the championship if she'd been on the team. Second, women's volleyball is still the most dominant program.
Okay, so I have the 2 women's teams. I do not have the 2 men's teams.
The thing about the men's team is no one expected them to make the final this year, and they did. They still have several key pieces from that roster. We don't know exactly what the final roster will be. Admittedly, there's still some behind-the-scenes things that could change that in terms of recruiting. But they play at home. Playing at home in basketball and volleyball are huge bonuses for a home team in terms of momentum, defense.
We saw it with volleyball.
And this team is this men's basketball team is all about momentum on defense. And so if they have the home crowd behind them, I believe they'll be in the final. Doesn't mean they'll win, but they'll be in the final for the home tournament.
We got about a minute left, so I got to get this bold one out.
Okay,
the NFLPA will win its grievance against the NFL, and anthem kneeling will continue in 2018. Josh,
you got to explain, because it's not that I disagree with anything other than I don't think this will happen. So explain to me how this is going to happen.
Okay, first of all, explain that I was wrong. I thought we had a minute left. Apparently we have 3 minutes left, so we're good.
Okay.
Okay, secondly, the NFLPA filed a grievance against the NFL to protest the situation where the NFL said that they couldn't do this during anthems, saying that it's essentially against the player's right, and it is. So I believe that the NFLPA and the NFL will discuss this, and it will be allowed. I don't think the league can get away with this against the Players Association.
I think there's 2 factors you're forgetting, though. One, there are similar rules in other leagues against kneeling. They have that actually in the NBA, where they actually have rules against.
I'm not saying they don't have them, but
shows
it's
of protest. Shows of protest. You can say, which is fair to have that opinion, but that there are rules in other leagues. Second, I believe that while this lawsuit may gain some traction, it's going to result in some benefits to the players, but not a full we can kneel during the anthem. They'll give them something else.
So they can kneel for 10 seconds and then they're done.
Or maybe
10 seconds, then you have to stand.
There'll be a compromise on the owners for something, but it won't be for kneeling. They'll compromise on something else.
Maybe one player can kneel for 10 seconds, and then when he gets up, the other one can.
Maybe they'll be able to dab for a little bit longer, have celebrations in the end zone, something of that nature.
Awful.
There'll be some minor concession, but not the one you're thinking.
Carry on.
Although I could certainly be proven wrong, as I have many times before. We'll go back to the Rustlers. I want to stay local one more time.
Yes.
The men's volleyball team will make the playoffs within the next 2 years, and within the next 4 or 5 years will be a steady, competitive, competent, maybe elite team in the league. And I know that is bold considering their history, and there's a bias because I've worked with that team.
Slathering on the bold sauce.
But
slathering on the bold sauce. That's a little bold. They've done some good recruiting.
They have.
The team has done some good recruiting this year.
Especially
I
this summer.
just don't know if they're quite there. I'm not. It's close.
That is why I held off from saying they will make the playoffs this year. I know that's going to piss off a couple of guys on the team that I know specifically that I say that.
Well, you can handle that 2 ways. You can be pissed off about it and sulk about it, or you can go and make the playoffs.
And the reason why I think that within the next years it's going to happen is they have a couple of guys here long term that are going to be here this year and next year. They have a little bit more athleticism. They have a couple of key guys. They lost a couple of guys from last year's squad this summer. Immediately picked up replacements for them, including another Australian that you'll get to see soon.
Needs to be a bit of a culture shift.
Yes.
And it needs to be led by Matt Peck. He has got to lead that shift, and I believe that that's the guy who can do it.
And he's leading them as we speak.
Yes,
he's in town this summer. He's helped start actually a volleyball academy, which you covered on the news. I think that program is really trending upward. And now that they have guys there for 3-4 years, that makes a big difference.
I'm keeping it local. We got 30 seconds. I'm keeping it local. The Lloydminster Extreme, who absolutely clobbered the Edmonton Warriors 27-4 over 2 games. That's right. The Warriors scored 4 goals, which is way less than you'd see in 1 game, let alone 2. Now they play Cold Lake, a team that's beat them in 2 games. They're going to beat Cold Lake. in the 10-minute mini game, which essentially is a game 3, and move on to the provincial championships.
I love it. I don't even want to argue. I just want to see it happen.
I like it too, and that's what I see happening. And it's coming, baby.
I'm definitely
It's
okay
coming. The Extreme have been an excellent team. More people should watch.
for sure.
We're back, and the gloves are still off.
All right, welcome back. Off the top of the show, Josh, we mentioned that you had a doozy of a
Yes,
video to
we
break
have,
down today. So
something
this is
neat.
pretty solid work. You've dug this up from the depths of the internet.
Yeah.
Tell our folks.
It wasn't just half-assed internet research. This was it produced quality. Let's just say
it
that.
did. What do we got? What do we got for video today?
We have taser ball,
Taser ball.
and I'll be right back.
I can imagine viewers are probably like, "What is taser ball? Like, what exactly is taser ball?" Josh has got. I'm not sure how he found this. I don't even know how he found it out. But this is. Could you classify this as a sport, Josh?
I mean, as we said at the top of the show, if you believe that hot dog eating is a sport, there's no way this isn't a sport. It's more athletic than golf. It's more athletic than poker. It's more athletic than many a sport. It's also
Poker's not
much
a
more
sport.
dangerous than anything. This might be one of the few sports more dangerous than football, if you can believe that.
Poker is not a sport, for the record. Okay.
Well, I
that's-
mean, it's considered a sport.
no
but
way.
again.
No athletic ability. Okay,
I mean,
Josh, let's get
bowling.
straight into it.
All right, so taser ball, it was developed in the, I'm going to just look here again, early to mid 2000s by 3 crazy individuals. We're just going to call them crazy because that's what they are. And the game is played 4-on-4 within an indoor soccer setting with a soccer-like ball that's the size of a person. And the main point about taser ball is everyone's armed with a taser. Now, it doesn't go to the full voltage that tasers normally go. It can only go 3 to 5 milliamps of voltage. So very minute.
It's enough. It's enough.
It's still enough to cause minimum disruption or paralysis just for a second to parts of the body. So let's roll this first clip as you get a chance to look at it. So just here's a taste of what it looks like to play a sport with crazy people. As you can see, a large ball. They have tasers ready to go, and you run in and you tase people. I mean, that's basically the game. You run in and you tase people. I mean,
have never seen anything like
who
this in my
doesn't
life.
want to play a full contact sport where that's not the dangerous part? The dangerous part is tasing people, and you
love
deal with those
The
type
rip
of
across
characters.
the neck.
Yeah, so again, this was developed in the earlier 2000s. They play on a full indoor soccer field. You're allowed to use stun guns on opposing players when they're in possession. So you can't just run up to any random dude and taser them. But you can taser them as long as they're in possession of the ball, which you throw to put in the goal. There's not really an official goalie. There's lots of Tebowing, as you can see there. And yes.
It strikes me, although it would not be hard to score in that game. But maybe it's far more
As
challenging
long as
than it
you
looks.
are farther than 5 feet away from a taser, it's very easy to score. But the presence of electricity being jabbed into your body does make it a little hard to focus on throwing, especially when they're just swarming you like that. Let's actually go to this next video. I want to see, it's a league full of personality. You got a little glimpse of Crazy McCrazy Eyes a second ago, but if we go to video number 2, there's plenty of personality in this league on full display for the 5 fans that come out. So championship belt, anyone? Guy who just got out of prison. A little too amped on Monster energy drinks. And weird fetishes with kissing electricity. So that's just a few of the personalities. You can see in this arena, there's a rain or hailstorm going on that is affecting the players. No one's in the stands to watch.
That guy just got zapped like 6 times.
Yeah, and
And he's still holding the ball.
the key seems to be just being able to officially taser people. That's the way to do this game best. Of course, if you're larger, you have more length. Ooh, a little behind the back from that
he scores!
individual. Again, the key there is there is no one immediately around to taser him. It makes it much easier to throw a ball when you're not immediately about
I can't
to
believe
be
what
tasered.
I'm watching here. Look at this guy. This guy's a beast. This particular guy.
This particular guy was tased 4 times, and it looks like there's some kind of penalty. I
here we
don't
go.
know where they dragged up this DJ from the 1950s in a bathrobe.
There's nobody there.
as I said, there's 2 fans in the stands. I think people are just too scared by the constant noise they get too. There's so much just constant tasing going on. And you can see that guy there also scared of being tased. His teammate, of course, scoring. Again, the key seems to be long limbs help, but you're actually better off if you're just very quick at darting in and out and tasering people on the side. That seems to be the main thing.
Okay, so
you have questions. You seem to have
I'm
questions, so
curious.
bring on the questions.
It's not so much a question. I guess there is a
Okay.
question here, but is this something that you would like to see happen in Canada? Like, I feel like this kind of thing, although it's absolutely insane, is stuff that people could really latch on to watching in Canada.
I mean, I'm okay with certain individuals who will not be named being tased, but in terms of mass entertainment, people tasing each other
no.
regularly.
Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Here. I mean, like, I'm not going out there to play the sport.
Right.
But I would enjoy watching it. Kind of like I would enjoy watching like a Lloydminster hot dog eating contest. Like, that's the kind of stuff that, to me, that people are going to want to see and people are going to want to tune in to watch.
Well, first of all, you severely overestimate the interest in watching a hot dog eating contest live.
There were 20,000 people there.
Yes, but that's there. This is, well, okay, point taken. Anyway, I think that the chances of this happening are unlikely because, for one thing, the Ultimate Taser Ball website is no longer in use. So no one seems to have been able to get a hold of the creators since about 2014, 2015. So for about 3 years now, it seems to have been defunct. It's
No
a
kidding.
shock why it might have fallen off, a league where people taser each other regularly.
Is that a pun? Shocked?
Way to stick with it. But to answer if someone wanted to kickstart the league again, there was a team in Toronto, the Toronto Terrors, as it were.
Oh, my word.
I don't think that the market is quite there, particularly post-recession. The actual cost of buying tasers, also purchasing, I'll go to the next video while I'm talking, purchasing a person with medical experience to be on the side, because you have to have someone on the side at all times. Again, with this league, it's not a large amount of damage you get from the 3 to 5 milliamps, but it's enough to create muscle spasms, and some people might react differently than others. Even if it's not long-lasting, in the moment it's still certainly serious, especially if people have seizures and things like that. So again, we'll get you a few more views of this amazing sport taser ball. But again, you know, medical importance is there. That they're even able to run while being tased is kind of amazing to me. There's plenty of bonding. Well, if you can pause the video for just a second. That was what's called team bonding. You know, they take their lessons probably from watching movies like Braveheart and feel we need to bond before going into battle. And believe me, it's a battle. You know, it's like holding a sword. They treat that like it's a sword. It's just very small and has 3 to 5 milliamps of voltage in it.
What would be better if you could steal somebody else's taser and then like have both going?
The league did have sanctions against stealing someone else's taser because
of course it did.
They're already dealing with maniacs. Why would you give a maniac 2 tasers, right? So we'll play again. This guy gets just taken out there.
Here we go. Are we going to see the team bonding?
Yeah, team bonding right there. Again, a little more tasering, a little more tasering. Lots of tasering going on. And that's so pause. So that's, and again, the personality league. Thomas Taylor is the guy you saw on screen. Thomas Taylor, one of the many crazy people in the league, one of the lead captains, hasn't been heard from since 2015, like the rest of the league.
He's dead. That man is dead.
We don't know. We just lost track of the guy.
Yeah, if you lose track of a guy who is in that kind of a league, he's not going to be found.
Yeah.
He might be at the bottom of a river. That's entirely possible. Look at him.
Yeah,
there
Thomas
he is.
Taylor.
There he is. Great job upstairs to bring him up.
I mean, he did a great job, our production team. He does bear a little bit of a resemblance to Birdman. Remember Birdman from the MVBA?
No.
Chris Anderson. He's the guy with the tattoos, did the flying thing after a dunk.
Okay,
you know?
I kind of remember that.
Kind of remember? He possessed drugs one time and he was out of the league for about a year, but he came back. I think this guy might be either a fan or a long-lost relative, though he doesn't have the ginger
He's not
hair.
an attractive individual, I will say that.
I mean, beauty's subjective, Lance. Let's be fair.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying he is not an attractive individual.
Just so we know, NewCap does not necessarily endorse all of Lance's opinions, even if they're accurate. But yeah, so taser ball, that was a thing for 4 or 5 years. And again, it's just kind of fallen on the wayside. Costs is a big one. danger is a
No.
considerable one.
No.
And I mean, how many people want to dedicate their lives to playing taser ball full time? So, yeah.
Well
there you
done
go.
this week again, Josh Ryan. I mean, I don't know where you find this stuff, but it is good.
Did you have we have 10 seconds. Any burgeoning questions you still had? Or like,
No.
throw me a hypothetical. Give me a hypothetical.
Are you playing this? Are you playing in this
Hell
sport?
no. We don't taser people for a living, man. It's crazy.
Great work, Josh. Like, great work. Outstanding.
We're back. You can keep your gloves on, but ours are off.
All right, Albert joins us. We were having a quick discussion
Alright.
off camera about
Yes.
about that first topic where we discussed the AAU basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And what were you saying? It was. Go ahead.
So they were AAU teams. The tournament itself was not AAU sanctioned.
Yeah, and I don't know if
So
it
all the
matters. You need-
AAU, that's the Amateur Athletic Union, have been distancing themselves from this thing as far as they
No
possibly
kidding.
can.
No kidding.
Which is, it's an organization that's had a lot of scrutiny recently anyway. There's a lot of NBA players who are critical of the system as a whole. And I mean, if this is any kind of happens to be
Male in the
irregularity, I
beak.
don't see why.
Take it easy. He's coming.
Okay, I will get us started there. Sorry, Albert. Okay, so let's start with a good old video here. England fans trash an IKEA following win over Sweden.
Like,
Compare this to the Japanese soccer players and fans, and we see which culture is more advanced. I mean, that's from that tweets for 45. I see the argument. I see the argument.
like, what do you think about this?
I mean, I've always never understood the sort of toxicity within soccer culture. And it's not just in England. It's all over the world, particularly in South America. It's really problematic there as well. I've never understood why it's such a violent
That
thing.
was insane. Like, that was.
It's the only sport in the world that has crime literally organized around it.
And that would explain this next tweet.
Yes.
Kate Allman at Kate Allman 1. If England gets beaten, so will she. Holy moly, this is powerful poster from at NCDV. UK cases of domestic violence go up 26% when England play and 38% if the team loses. That's petrifying.
And there's two real easy ways to explain that. One,
No, there's no easy way to explain
Okay,
that. There's no way
let
to
me
explain
let
that.
me rephrase that. There's two things that it shouldn't be easy to explain. I should preface with the two factors that play in that. One, alcohol, and there's too much.
We just
of it.
watched it. We just
Right.
watched it. The effects of that.
The second part of it too, again, gangs. So of course these people who celebrate the sport are going to be violent. It's it's a crazy culture. It's something
it's
I've never
unbelievable.
understood. A great Elijah Wood movie, Hooligans, that gives you a glimpse into how just crazy that soccer culture is in not just England, it's places all over the world. So this is from At the Score, a little more lighthearted note here. Tom Brady always taking it to 100, even against his son. I mean,
Look at, like,
he's got to.
that's amazing.
He's got to
Like,
keep going.
That's what he does to his son.
But I mean, he is what, 40 now? He's got to show his son you got to work for everything in life, I guess.
Hey, there's mail.
You gotta work for everything, even beating your old man.
I mean, I say my dad, he never let us win at anything. He beat the crap out of us in basketball.
Kidding. Okay, Wayne Knight Racing at Wayne Knight,
Oh, yeah.
2016. So I'm a big fan of
You
Wayne
are a
Knight. I
big
think
fan.
Wayne Knight is an outstanding individual.
I think most people endorse Wayne Knight as a person.
he's really enjoyable to be around. Just a genuinely good guy. A genuinely good guy in the CPCA circuit.
For sure.
This stagette visited our barn today and will be taking in this at CS Chuck Wagon, so that's the GMC Rangeland Derby, tomorrow night. Enjoy, ladies. Thanks for visiting. Like, there was something about this photo that is absolutely incredible to me. And I was trying to pick what it was, because I was looking at the photo, I'm thinking, God, it's really compelling. And I think it's because all those girls are around Wayne Knight. Wayne Knight is a stud. That's it. Wayne Knight's a stud.
And not just a stud, a gentleman too.
He is a gentleman. I'm a big fan
That's a
of
good-
Wayne's. I'm
that's
big
a
fan
good
of Wayne's.
combination.
I've always
There's
liked
mail.
being around him. He's a great guy.
This is for a great Twitter handle at Pitching Ninja.
Oh, this
Jordan Hicks, ridiculous 104 miles per hour sinker. AJ Pollock. But hey, really, who can blame him?
like, he can't even touch that thing. He can't even touch it. How do you hit that? To me, that's an unhittable pitch. And Chris and I have enjoyed seeing these. Rob Friedman does these a lot. And that pitch you're not hitting it.
Yeah. It makes sense that so many guys only go after home runs now, because it's like, well, if you have such a small chance of hitting the ball, you might as well go for it and hope something great happens.
We talked about this before the show started.
Yes.
Jeff Passan at Jeff Passan. Trevor Bauer says he's never signing a long-term deal, only one-year contracts. Why? Turns out he made a bet with a friend. If he ever signs a multi-year deal, the friend gets to shoot him in the nuts with a paintball gun from 10 feet away. That is unbelievable.
I would like to change my opinion from our earlier discussion. He did not get snubbed, Ryan Snell. Bauer was the correct choice to be in the All-Star game. That cements
I've
it for
never
me.
heard anything like that in my life.
That's unreal. Unreal.
You're sacrificing your own pay because of this bet and your own livelihood because of this bet.
You know what?
He's not sacrificing. He's making a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
But he could be making more.
He probably will make more when they sign this off and they make a movie out of it.
Oh,
They'll sell the rights to his life story. How I avoided getting hit in the nuts every year. At Bleacher Report, at Saquon, that's Saquon Barkley. Saquon, did I say Saquon? Saquon Barkley, pardon me, is about that life.
This guy.
This is a workout
beast.
and a half.
This guy's a beast. Like, I don't know if those weights, those are 45-pound weights. I'm almost certain. So that's
those are double.
So that's
45s.
180 pounds on the bar,
Yeah.
and that bar probably weighs an Olympic barbell is 45 pounds. So my guess is that thing probably weighs 70 or 80 pounds.
I think it's 70.
So he's doing what's
around that.
classified as a farmer's carry with that kind of weight. This guy
And
is
uphill.
a beast.
He's doing it uphill
That's right.
too. That's the craziest part about that video for me.
That guy's an absolute beast.
I've done farmers carries with that type of that setup, and I've tried to do that kind of distance. Can't do that kind of weight.
You've done it with like 270 pounds?
Hell no, and not uphill. That's unreal. And
No wonder he was second overall.
This kid's going to be a good athlete.
Another team I'm a fan of. We've got a minute left here.
Okay.
Bonneville Pontiacs at B Pontiacs. So huge congratulations going out tonight to B Pontiac's assistant coach, B Country 11. So that is the assistant coach commonly known as Banger, and his beautiful bride, Shelby. That's Neil Langridge and his beautiful bride, Shelby. Neil Langridge, as I said, known as Banger. I still actually don't know why they call him Banger, but they do, and he's a hell of a guy.
He must love rock music.
So, yeah, big congratulations, Neil. Huge congratulations to
Absolutely.
you, Banger.
Congratulations. Going to at fifth year. Chick-fil-A customer service is
good.
simply unmatched.
So good.
One of the best videos
So
I've
good.
seen in a while.
Like, what is this guy doing?
Love it.
I don't understand the Fortnite thing. I'm not a gamer, so I don't.
I'm no longer a gamer, so I'm not going to shed insight into it either. And I do a bad
We're
job.
almost out of time. Thanks for watching. Coming up next week, Carly Agro and Moses Waldo. Carly Agro, the OG of the Gloves Are Off, is going to join us for a special edition, and Moses Waldo as well. So we're looking forward to that.
Predecessor, former sports guy here. Exciting. Take care, everybody.